besties, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm here to film my 6 weeks postpartum as well as a little bit of a baby update. Let's dive right into it.
Each time I make a memory, then I'll try to make it with you.
It feels very weird for me to be sitting here filming a 6 weeks postpartum update because it feels like we had Noli Bear just the other day. She was in NICU for so long, for literally 27 days, and she's been home with us for a little over 2 weeks, and so it still feels like we've had her only for 2 weeks. There's a massive, big, major disconnect in my brain with this whole situation, and I find myself having to constantly remind myself that no, she's actually been around for 6 weeks. It's such a constant struggle. I didn't think there was going to be such a big disconnect, but honestly there is a disconnect and it feels really strange. So 6 weeks postpartum. I had my 6 weeks postpartum doctor's appointment just the other day where, you know, you go over how you're feeling, they check your C-section scar and everything else. You talk about contraceptives and all of that fun stuff. It was a bit of a bittersweet appointment for me purely because I'm never gonna do that again. Noli Bear is the last baby. I think we were in there for like 45 minutes straight. We had a good chat. We talked about anything and everything. First things first, yes, I did tie my tubes. There is just no way in hell I'm having another baby. I don't think my mental health can take another kid. Like, there's just no way in hell I'd be able to handle having another kid. Even though 3 kids for me still throws me off because it's an odd number. I never imagined having an odd number amount of kids. I always thought it's either 2 or 4. And she was like, I don't think so. She came along and you know what? It feels right. It feels like she's exactly what we needed, and she came along at the perfect time too. Never gonna be pregnant again, and I'm quite happy with that. In my mind, I was like, would I want to have another kid with Dizzy? The answer was no. If me and Dizzy were to break up and get a divorce or whatever, would I want to have another kid with somebody else? The answer was still no. So why stick around and still tempt fate and risk being pregnant when I can very well get my tubes tight? So I was like, let's do it. And that's why I was insisting on having a C-section, because I mean, granted, I wouldn't have had a VBAC or whatever after having Peanut just a week ago and having Noli Bear 2 weeks later. So it was done exactly on that day, 27th of Feb. I don't have to schedule another op or surgery or procedure to get my tubes tied. I remember my gynae asking me, are we tying tubes? And I was like, yes. I was in so much pain, but honestly, that's the one question I was able to answer. I was like, yes, please. And she's like, everybody, did you hear that? Y'all are my witnesses. I'm like, yes, I can say it again if you didn't hear me. I need my tubes to be tied. Tubes are tied, no more babies, which is awesome. At my 6 weeks postpartum appointment, we obviously never had to discuss the contraceptives point of things because obviously I don't need contraceptives. I really hope this is gonna work. The fact that it's not something physical, something tangible that you can see kind of freaks me out. It paranoids me. It is what it is. I'm not gonna be taking additional contraceptives just because I want to ease my conscience. If another baby comes along, I probably will lose my mind, but another baby will have come along. I am still breastfeeding. I'm actually exclusively breastfeeding this little dumpling, and it has been going fantastic. My breastfeeding journey with Noli Bear is seriously the most smooth of all my kids, which is crazy because she was in hospital for so long. It has been very smooth, no cracked nipples. I don't know if it's because I was pumping before the actual breastfeeding or if it's because she just latches on so well, but she's doing really fantastic. She feeds like a professional. The lady who's keeping track of her weight, the dietitian they call her, is very happy with how she's gaining weight. I'm very happy with that too. It still kind of throws me off the fact that she's so tiny and she's gonna be 2 months old in about 2 weeks. I have to literally always constantly remind myself that she's a preemie, she's tiny, she'll catch up, but she's still tiny. It's such a struggle. I swear we have to learn everything from scratch with this little dumpling. I am feeding on demand. When she came out of hospital, they had given me a little schedule to say I must feed her every 3 hours or every 2 hours or something. Obviously I said, yes, sure, I'll do it. But in my mind, I was like, there's just no way I'm doing that. I'm gonna feed on demand. If she's hungry, I'm gonna feed her. I'm not gonna wait until the 2 hours is over. I did that with K-Bear. It bit us so hard. We paid with the sleepless nights when she was screaming her booty off and her just being miserable. I swear K-Bear was just a hungry baby because we used to feed on that stupid schedule. We should have known better. Then again, we're first-time parents. These things happen. But with Peanut, we fed on demand and he was perfectly fine and content, and she is perfectly fine and content because we're feeding on demand as well. If she's hungry, you will know because that's probably the first time you're gonna hear her crying. When it comes to my C-section, it has healed fantastic. I hear Peanut crying My healing has been so great, but I must say the recovery was a little bit brutal. I'm not sure if it's because I refused to take some of the pills while I was in hospital because they would make me so drowsy, and I was so desperate to see Nolly Bear that I was like skipping one of the pills, so I would go on still pain for about 6 hours and then take that drowsy pill just before bed, or when I knew that I want to give myself a bit of time before I go up to the NICU. So it was really rough. Still pain and C-section wound, that's gonna do nothing for you. You need a stronger pill. You need something more strong to help you manage that pain. But I was so desperate to just be able to see Nolly Bear when I'm awake and alert that I was like, I'll skip on that, I'll skip on that. And so I feel like the recovery this time around was brutal. Even when we're back home, in a weird way, I was really grateful that Nolly Bear was in hospital, because Lord knows I don't know how I was gonna manage with that much pain that I was in. Peanut running around, K-Bear driving us mental with her 1,000,001 questions. I don't know how I was gonna manage. It was really rough, but it was rough for like 2 weeks, and then I was fine. I stopped. Hi. What are we complaining about? Oh, we got hiccups. I'm sorry. At my 10 days appointment, I was not even needing painkillers anymore. 10 days after the surgery, I was still moving at like a snail pace, but I didn't necessarily have to down any pills. I did break the rules and I drove before my 6 weeks, but I had to drive. I had to go get you out of hospital, huh, Missy? The one question that I've been getting a lot is whether I would recommend for somebody to have a C-section, or if I would advise anybody to have a C-section. To be honest, I would never ever advise anybody to have a C-section. I feel like the recovery is more brutal than it is when you have a vaginal birth. I haven't had a vaginal birth, so I'm not necessarily sure how that works out, but from what I've heard and what I've read, the recovery is much faster and much quicker than when you have a C-section. Quick tips on just recovering from a C-section. First of all, take it easy. Do not let yourself be sucked into the whole social media where you see somebody have a C-section today and they're up and running tomorrow. Take it at your pace, and remember that people are different. Take your painkillers. If they say take it every 3 hours, take it every 3 hours. They say that for a reason, so please take them every 3 hours. It'll help you be able to like move around and stuff without being in too much pain. You will probably be still uncomfortable, but you're not going to be in a lot of pain. Another thing you want to do is constantly be on the move. Obviously, don't just move around for no reason, but you want to not sit down for too long, because when you sit down for too long, when it comes to time for you to get up, it's gonna hurt like a mother. So the more you move around, the less likely you are to be in pain when you have to indeed move around. If it's too hard, if it's too stressful, if it's too painful, just walk from your room to the kitchen to put your plate down, or from your bedroom to the bathroom. It doesn't have to be too big a stretch. Absolutely avoid taking a bath when you have a C-section wound to recover from. When you leave the hospital, they will put a dressing on your scar, on your wound obviously, but still avoid taking a bath. You'd rather take very quick showers. The thing with taking a bath is there might be some water getting into that thing they use to patch up your wound, and if water stays in there for too long or the wound doesn't get dry, then you might get an infection. So try and avoid taking a bath as hard as you possibly can, at least until your 6 weeks checkup. Usually they take off the dressing from the C-section wound at just 7 days or 10 days appointment. So you want to make sure that you keep your wound as dry as you possibly can, because you don't want to get infections over there. When you can buy those granny underwears, like the ones that go all the way up to your belly button, I actually had to go to Woolies to buy those because I did not have them. I had planned to buy them for my hospital bag, but obviously we all know how that worked out. Buy those granny underwears and make sure that you don't wear anything that's going to be scratching on your C-section scar, because it can be very uncomfortable. Even when you're not in pain, it can be very uncomfortable because the scar itself will feel tender for a little longer than the actual pain of the wound. I don't know if that makes sense. Right now, 6 weeks postpartum, I still feel a bit tender around my scar, but it doesn't hurt. I have found though that first C-section, the recovery from there is so much more brutal than your second and third. When we had K-Bear, oh my god, I took painkillers all the way until my 6 weeks appointment with the doctor. So I feel like once your body sort of knows how to recover from a C-section, you sort of recover quickly and you're not in that much pain. Like, you can handle it, whereas if it's your first C-section, it's 7 times more painful. Everything is just a shell shock. It's just so much harder. So take it easy on yourself. If it's your first C-section recovery, don't try and be a super mom. Ask for help. Let them help you, even if it means they have to hand you over your baby baby, because you'll be surprised at how much pain just picking up your baby will inflict on you and your scar. After you have a C-section, laughing is a big no-no. Sneezing is potentially deadly. That's what I always tell my gynae, because everything hurts. So you want to always have a pillow close to where you are. If you have to laugh and really laugh out loud like you can't help it, press that pillow against your tummy. It's funny, after you've had a C-section, you hardly ever need to sneeze, but when you do need to sneeze, you will need to sneeze, and make sure you have that pillow and press it very tightly against your tummy. And sneeze, it's not going to hurt as bad. Try and always have a pillow close to you. You'll be amazed at how much of a lifesaver that pillow will be for you. But yeah, those are my top recovery tips when it comes to recovering from a C-section. I've had 3 C-sections so far. I'm not a professional, but that's my experience. When it comes to weight loss, when I started this pregnancy, I was 62 kgs. At the end of the pregnancy, I was probably around 74, 75 kgs, because I never got a chance to weigh myself. I went into labor a day before I was meant to go see my midwife, and that's where we did the weighing and all of that fun stuff. But right now, as I'm filming this video, I am actually 64.4 kgs, which is crazy. I'm not doing anything. The only thing I'm doing is stuff my face with food and breastfeed this little dumpling, and that's basically it. I've been very fortunate to not deal with any postpartum depression or anything like that, but there was a point while Noli Bear was in hospital where I honestly felt myself slipping into some sort of depression. I was just at my all-time low. I was just mad and angry at everybody, and I was just not very happy, and I used to cry a lot. I would just cry my eyes out. I would just lie down in bed and never want to get out of bed. It felt like a big piece of us is missing, and we are carrying on with life as if everything is okay, and in my mind it just wasn't okay. There was this big disconnect, and I just couldn't move forward. I didn't know how to live life with her being in hospital and us being back home and carrying on like everything is okay. It just didn't feel natural. That's basically me at 6 weeks postpartum. Baby Noli Bear is doing fantastic. So far she's doing really well. We have started trying tummy time with her, and she tries to push up and lift her head, which has been great. Not necessarily tracking her milestones or anything. I'm just taking it one day at a time. I'm very grateful that she's home with us. I'm grateful that we get to love upon her and cuddle the heck out of her every single day. She sleeps like a charm, which I'm very grateful for. She's just a really peaceful baby, like just exactly like both her name. She loves bath time, like loves bath time. Washing her hair is absolute bliss for her. She is just in her element every time we wash her hair. We're not necessarily on a set routine or anything when it comes to her. I'm just going with her flow. The one thing that I do with her that I did with Peanut is in the night when I feed her, I don't necessarily like pick her up or try and stimulate her or even put on the light or anything. I will grab her from her co-sleeper, put her on the bed so that I can feed her, and then I burp her on my lap instead of holding her like this, and then I put her right back to her co-sleep and she falls asleep. I noticed that when I try to burp her like this, she wakes up and she thinks, okay, it's playtime, what are we doing? She was born at 2.1 kgs and on the 27th of Feb, and 6 weeks later she is 3.2 kgs. The thing with Noli Bear is she is a tall baby, but she's still petite, so lengthwise she fits the jumpsuit perfectly well, but then she's not filling the jumpsuit just yet. She has a little bit of reflux that has been really intense, especially because we've never had to deal with that with Peanut and K-Bear, so this is a complete first for us. So we're not too sure about what we're doing just yet. We're just taking it one day at a time and elevating her as hard as we possibly can, burping her a bit, and just keep on moving. I think that's where I'm gonna stop for the 6 weeks postpartum. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. Go ahead and give it a thumbs up if you did. I'm gonna try to rock this little dumpling to sleep, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Until then, we'll see you besties in my next video.